Sam Darnold was drafted in the first round, 3rd overall in the 2018 NFL Draft by the Jets. He was drafted 2 picks after Baker Mayfield, and he was drafted 4 picks before Josh Allen. Now, Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen have completely different stories than Sam Darnold. Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield are turning around franchises that have been suffering for like 2 decades. And Sam Darnold is continuing the suffering that the Jets have had for years, sorry to say that. And when you look at Sam Darnold's college career, he was very talented. He had the size and the tools to become a really good quarterback, and he was even regarded as the #1 quarterback in that draft in some cases. So now that has me wondering, why did he fail? Why was this top tier quarterback in the draft a failure in the NFL so far at least? So this led me to come up with about 3 conclusions on why he may be struggling right now. So reason number 1 for Sam Darnold's struggles is that he never really learned from his mistakes in college. Despite putting up great numbers in college, he always struggled with turnovers and fumbles and all of that, and he never corrected it in the NFL. And I know this doesn't help with his poor coaching, which I'll get to in a minute, but he never fixed this, He threw for 15 interceptions, 13 interceptions, and 11 interceptions in 3 seasons in the NFL. And even though this isn't a lot compared to some quarterbacks, it's a lot for how many games he played, because he hasn't even played a full season at all in his NFL career. And he also has 20 fumbles too. It's just really sad on how he's not developing in those specific areas that people knew that he needed to fix, and they just aren't being fixed. And also on the mental side too, I know that's kind of like a meme that, he was seeing ghosts and stuff. But a lot of that is like a mental problem, Whenever he's been playing this poorly, it gets in your head whenever you were once regarded as such a good NFL prospect. And reason number 2 for Sam Darnold's struggles is that he hasn't had the best receivers or offensive linemen at any point in his career. His best receivers during this time was either Jamison Crowder or Robbie Anderson. And they're alright, they're not bad at all, they're solid receivers. But he hasn't had a top tier receiver. And I know a lot of that has to do with the quarterback play. If he's not doing well, his receivers aren't going to be doing well. But look at Terry McLaurin. And even Tyler Boyd, he's still getting 1,000 receiving yards. And he's had inconsistent quarterbacks during his time, same with McLaurin. And they're still putting up really good numbers. So obviously there's talent differences with receivers that can end up impacting. And he hasn't had any of those guys. And not to mention his offensive line, it's been so bad. They signed Le'Veon Bell a couple years ago to a huge deal. And he hasn't even been able to get 3.5 yards per carry during that time. And if they can't even block for a short amount of time for a running back, just imagine whenever Sam Darnold's in the pocket and he's trying to make throws. He can't make them because he's constantly getting pressured. And so that's my second reason. The team around him just has never been good. And number 3 is that he's had really bad coaching. In his first year in the NFL, he had Todd Bowles. He was kind of like a one-year wonder. Had one season where they almost made the playoffs, but they didn't. He's been really bad other than that. That wasn't going to help his development. And I think everyone else knew that, and that's why he got fired. But the guy they hired to replace him couldn't have been any worse than Adam Gase. Now, Adam Gase was kind of interesting because he was winning a certain amount of games with the Dolphins, with people like Brock Osweiler and stuff like that. He was still winning some games. But look at his offense during that time. He did make the playoffs one year. That was with the other coach's team. It wasn't necessarily his team because that was his first year. But look at the offense. Every single year it would rank bottom tier, and he's supposed to be this offensive minded coach, and his offenses have been really bad, and it's strange. And you look at Ryan Tannehill too with the Titans. Adam Gase had him on his team throughout his whole career with the Dolphins, and he hasn't been able to develop him. Tannehill's such a talented quarterback, he couldn't develop him, and now he's playing like how he should have been, but with another team. And I know he got hired the same year that Tannehill had his breakout year. But still, that's got to be alarming. As soon as you hire him, okay, is this the right guy? He couldn't develop another first-round quarterback. How is he going to develop this one? And, it showed because Adam Gase, during his 2 years, they were actually not horrible in 2019. They went 7-9. They could have contended for the playoffs in 2020. But once 2020 rolled around, they just had no shot. They were so bad. And it was just really rough all around. And this is what led to Gase being fired. Now, this is already bad for Darnold. He had 2 head coaches that got fired in a 3-year career so far in the NFL. That's not what you want, If you look at Josh Allen, in the same draft class, he's really doing well with the Bills. He was supposed to have even more flaws than Sam Darnold coming out of college. But Josh Allen is succeeding. And a lot of that has to do with his stability with coaching, the great coaching he has. Sean McDermott's a really good coach, and he's had all the help in the world. They just got Stephon Diggs. They've always had a solid offensive line. Their defense was really good. He was put up in such a good position to win. And I guarantee you, if Allen got drafted by the Jets, he probably wouldn't be as bad as Darnold, but he wouldn't be good. He wouldn't be one of the best quarterbacks that he is now. And I'm not saying that Josh Allen isn't talented, because he's amazing. It's just him and Darnold are those types of guys who need to put in the right system, and they'll play to their potential, and they'll play like they know how to play. And Sam Darnold just wasn't that guy. And if you can't have the good offensive line and all of that, he's not a dual threat quarterback. He's not going to succeed under a bad offensive line. Kyler Murray was able to win Offensive Rookie of the Year with not a good offensive line with the Cardinals. But that was also because he was able to run and throw. He was the true dual threat quarterback. Sam Darnold is just a pocket passer. And it's not like that's bad, Pocket passers win Super Bowls all the time. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, all those guys, they win Super Bowls. But whenever you don't have a good offensive line for them, they're not going to be able to throw the ball like their best ability. They're going to have to try to run around or throw the ball away, and it's just not good for your team. And it's such a shame. Sam Darnold is so talented, and everyone knows that. And I really hope he goes to a new team just to see if he can play to his potential. And I hope the NFL, like him being a starter, isn't over, because he's so talented, and he could have really been a really good player in the league, and he just hasn't had any of the help, any of the resources. And even though a lot of this has to do with the help around him and his coaching, he hasn't done himself any favors either, and it's another reason why he's not playing to his best potential. But like someone like Deshaun Watson, he's playing really well on a really bad team, and I think he'd be really good with the Jets. That is a trade possibility that people are saying. I don't know. But, Watson would probably be as good as he is on the Texans as the Jets just because of how good of a player he is. Sam Darnold was just never that guy. And again, it's a shame. And I hope for the best for his career. And I hope that he finds success elsewhere, because it's clearly not going to be on the Jets unless their new head coach can really change. And that's all. This was the failure of Sam Darnold so far. And I hope you guys liked it, and I'll definitely do more of these, and I'll continue with the success with specific players in future videos. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on Friday.